Hello everybody, I am back with another video doing episode 2 of my backlog challenge. Now many of you guys know, as I've previously mentioned in so many of my videos, focusing on my backlog, buying less games this year. And in this video in particular, I'm really going to focus on talking about the Walking Dead game that came out last year by Telltale Games. Now guys, this game was such an excellent reminder of why I play video games in the first place, and that's, you know, coming across a game like this and just having an experience that really no other avenues of entertainment really can provide. You watch a good movie and you don't necessarily forget about it because there are plenty of incredible movies, but I don't think there's that level of interactivity that, video games do provide, and that's why I love those so much. And the Walking Dead game was essentially like watching a movie unfold, but you got the opportunity to kind of mold the plot of that movie to your own choosing and to your own liking, and they really gave you the opportunity to make these decisions that had an incredibly strong impact on the story and, the future of what was going to happen. And I thought that was really, really unique and just such a captivating experience that I have never had while playing a game. And basically what I want to do in this video is go through each of the episodes and talk to you guys about some of the decisions I made. And I want to know what your decisions were and if they differed from mine or if they were the same. I really want to get a good discussion going here because I think it's so interesting. At the end of every episode, there are 5 episodes in the game. At the end of each, it kind of shows you these statistics and kind of bases what you did based on everyone else that played the game in percentage-wise on some of the major decisions that you made in the game, which was really, really cool. And some of them really took me by surprise because I thought there's no way anyone would have chosen to do this or saved this person or killed this person, but some people did, and I thought that was really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go through here. Major spoiler alert, guys. If you haven't played the Walking Dead game, please hold off on watching this video. Go play that game. It is well worth your money and time. And play the game, then come back and watch this video. But if you have already played through the game, please continue watching and let me know in the comment section below what some of your decisions were. Now, before I get into talking about the Walking Dead, I did want to mention that I have completed 7 games so far since I started this challenge, many of which I'm just not really going to talk about right now. Once I finish this series in about 8 months here, I'm going to kind of catalog each of the games that I've beaten and show you guys each of those, kind of similar to what I did in my introductory video to this series. But I want to really kind of just dedicate this video to this one game because I think it's well worth discussing because it really is just such a unique and unforgettable gaming experience. So in episode 1, I chose to save Duck, who's this little kind of young boy. He was Kenny's son, and I just felt kind of the necessity to save this boy's life because, his father and his mother, I couldn't live with just, making the decision to save the older boy. While it was tough to kind of let the older boy die, I couldn't let such a young kid, go like that. So I saved Duck. And towards the end of the episode, I saved Carly, who is the girl that is kind of with you for the remainder of the game, essentially. And so I saved her as opposed to, I believe it was Doug. He kind of got, ripped out of a window. But again, it's just really interesting how you have a split second to decide someone's fate. It's crazy. And I've never done that in a game before, In Call of Duty and God of War and stuff, you kill all these people without really thinking about it. But in The Walking Dead, you're put in these situations where you're literally gonna choose the fate of someone's life. And it's really interesting how they do that. So, excellent storytelling. But those are the 2 major decisions that I made in episode 1 that I wanted to discuss. In episode 2, okay, I think it's Carly's father, his name is Larry, and I couldn't stand the guy. He was just incredibly arrogant. He had this grudge against you for no reason, and I just didn't understand why. He was just such an angry man, and he had heart issues. Well, he has a heart attack, and he's kind of like unconscious, and instead of helping the guy, I chose to kill him. I chose to assist in killing him. I think it was Kenny who actually killed the guy, but he basically just took a huge cinder block and just crushed his head. It was pretty graphic and an intense moment, and Carly was pretty unforgiving, but I just couldn't get myself to risk, maybe Clementine being hurt or one of the other group members being hurt if this guy came back as a zombie. I didn't want to take that risk because ultimately I didn't know going in whether or not this guy was going to survive or not. So I didn't want to take that risk. I ended his life right there. And then moving on, let's see here. One of the other decisions I chose, which is really, really interesting, that comes into play towards the end of the game, is you come across this this station wagon with all this supplies, but the car is like still running, so you can tell that somebody had just left the vehicle there recently, and you either agree with the group to take the supplies or don't agree. And I didn't agree. I was kind of with Clementine. I said, guys, this is someone's stuff. While we do need to survive and we need food and stuff, we can't take this because obviously someone was just recently here and this is somebody else's. But regardless of your decision, you take the supplies, and that kind of haunts you in the later parts of the game because, as you guys know, if you've played this game, the guy who captures Clementine in the end is this guy this was his car. So it was just, and that took me by surprise. I didn't see that coming at all. But yeah, that was really interesting. So yeah. And then episode 3, moving right along here, I chose to kill Duck for Kenny because I couldn't allow someone to, continue living having known that they had to kill their son or their daughter. That would be just such a hard decision to make and such a hard thing to live with, even in the midst of them being a zombie. They're evil. They're not going to get any better. So whether you kill them or not, it doesn't really matter. But just that feeling of pressing on, knowing that you had to pull the trigger, would have just been so hard. So that's why I took the gun and I went ahead and shot Duck for Kenny, because Duck had been bitten and he was going to turn. And so that was one of the major decisions in episode 3 that I wanted to discuss. Episode 4, there was this really kind of this young boy in this attic that Kenny was kind of just so distraught over because it kind of reminded him of Duck. And he was just sitting there, and there really wasn't any need to kill the zombie boy, but the decision presented itself, and you had to make a decision whether Kenny was going to do it or whether you were going to do it. And I said, let me do it again, because, again, I just couldn't have Kenny live with that, because he was just beside himself after Duck died, and that would have just added that much more stress and frustration on him if he had to take his life. So I did that. And then what I found really interesting, and I kind of regret making this decision, is when you want to go to this town to get supplies, you can either leave Clementine at this mansion or you can take her with you. And I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just left her there, which was stupid, but I did. And I was definitely in the great minority there for leaving her back at the house. And then in the clock tower, or the bell tower, I mean, when Ben is kind of like sitting there, or he's not sitting there, he's hanging there, and he's going to die if you don't grab him and save him. And I left him there, and he died. But if memory serves me correct, I think he literally said, go, get out of here, leave, just run, but I don't know, I just never really felt a reason or really I didn't feel compelled to save him, because there was one instance when you were in the street, and this was when Clementine was getting those really kind of eerie calls on the walkie-talkie from this person, when, you were kind of at a distance from Clementine. These zombies surrounded Ben and Clementine, and Lee was like, Ben, help her, help Clementine, and he just takes off. So that kind of really influenced my decision on whether or not I saved Ben, and I chose not to. And then at the very end of episode 4, you get bit reaching for this walkie-talkie after Clementine had been taken, and I chose to reveal that I had been bitten because I couldn't hold that back from the group. I mean, that's pretty serious and significant, and if you were to turn on them unexpectedly, you know, I wouldn't want them to be hurt because I chose not to, you know, be truthful with them about what had actually happened. So I did reveal that I'd been bitten. Now getting into the really serious stuff here in episode 5. I mean, this game is just an absolute emotional roller coaster. It really is. I didn't cry while I was playing it, but towards the end, for those that did, I can completely understand, and it's completely justified because the ending decision that you have to make is really kind of heartbreaking. And before I get to that, though, what you end up finding out in episode 5, as I alluded to earlier, is the person who supplies you basically stole at that station wagon. The father of that group of people took Clementine, and you're kind of led to this house where he is and where he has Clementine held captive, and you kind of get into this fight with him, and then, you know, there's this big shuffle, you're rolling all over the ground, beating each other up, and I don't really see how Lee would have killed him in that situation. I'm sure, you know, things would have played out differently somehow. They obviously did for some people, but for me, Clementine actually took the gun and shot him and killed him, which was really pretty intense. So yeah, and then, you know, towards the end of the game, you know, Lee's really kind of becoming very weak. The disease is really kind of taking over his body since he's been bitten, and at the very end, you know, to make a long story short, you handcuff yourself to the wall, and you're kind of just talking with Clementine. You're dying, and you get to make the decision whether or not Clementine's going to shoot you and kill you, or whether she's just going to walk away. And I couldn't have Clementine do that because, you know, I became so attached to her as a character, and, you know, controlling Lee throughout the game, I literally felt like I was her father, because you really take on that father figure role throughout the game. You know, just the decisions that you make, taking care of her, looking after her, showing her how to shoot a gun, really just all these different things that really grew you two together, and just the bond that you see between them is really pretty amazing. And so I couldn't have her, you know, shoot me when it really wasn't necessary, because you were tied up. You know, if you weren't tied up and you weren't handcuffed, I would have probably had her shoot me just so, you know, to avoid the possibility of me chasing after her or whatever. But since you were handcuffed to the wall and she was at a safe distance from you, I didn't see it necessary for her to kill you, which was interesting because following that episode, I was in the very vast minority there. Most people chose to have Clementine shoot you, which I found to be pretty interesting. But, yeah, those were the decisions I made in the game that I kind of wanted to reference so that you guys could kind of compare and contrast your decisions with mine. But I thought it was, overall, like I said, one of the most unique, interesting, and compelling gaming experiences that I've ever had. And, you know, I'll never forget it. I mean, there are games that I so easily have forgotten that I've played, like GTA 4, you know, this AAA blockbuster game. I'm never going to remember playing that game or any of the missions that I played. But games like The Walking Dead, I will forever have, you know, some of the decisions I made in that game embedded in my mind, just because they were pretty serious. And I mean, it was just such, like I said, an emotional roller coaster, I think is the best way to describe it. So that's that, you guys. That is The Walking Dead. If you have not played the game, please do yourself a favor. Well, by this time I've spoiled everything for you, but regardless, you need to play this game. It is quite an experience. So definitely play Telltale Games, The Walking Dead, and I cannot wait to see how they progress with this series, and hopefully Season 2 will be out here before the end of the year. Alright guys, so that is my kind of synopsis of The Walking Dead. I didn't want this video to be too long, but I did kind of drone on with some of the decisions I made. It's kind of hard not to. It's a really great game. But right now, I'm working on Borderlands 1, which I'm really enjoying. And then also, I'm playing Pokemon White 2, which is also pretty fun. And I also got a game for my 3DS recently that I'll be showing in my pickups video coming up soon, so I won't spoil that I'm also going to be jumping in pretty soon as well. So, I want to thank you guys for watching this Backlog Episode 2, and I'll have Episode 3 out here in the next few weeks. And I also have a few other special videos planned here in the next few weeks as well. So, please stay tuned for that, guys. I want to thank you guys for your continued support. Be sure to leave comments in the section below, because I really do want to know some of the decisions you guys made while playing Telltale Games The Walking Dead. Thanks for watching, you guys.